I'd just like to welcome everyone to this session today of the ISCRR Learning Series. My name is Professor Sarah Anderson, and as of a couple of weeks ago, I'm the new ISCRR Director. As we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I work and live, which are the Wadawurrung, Wurrung and the Burrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay respect to elders past and present. I'd like to also acknowledge the continuing connection to land, sea, community and culture that goes back more than 60,000 years. I'd like to also extend this acknowledgement to traditional owners of the lands on which you are currently living, working and enjoying. And please feel free to make an acknowledgement within the chats. ISCRR is a unique partnership between Monash University and WorkSafe Victoria, and over the past 15 years we've had the pleasure of working with world-leading researchers around the globe in the fields of workplace health and safety. Today we're proud to be hosting the session AI and Collaborative Robots, New Frontiers in Work Health and Safety, presented by Professor Herman Tse. Professor Tse is a professor in leadership and organisational behaviour in the Department of Management at the Monash Business School. His research focuses on leadership effectiveness, team development, leader and employer wellbeing, and workplace health and safety. And with his current work, Professor Tse is seeking to develop evidence-based frameworks and practical guidelines for human-robot collaborative workspaces and AI-driven transformation initiatives. So this session is going to be recorded and will be available to view on ISCRR's channels in the future. You do have an opportunity to post questions using the Zoom Q&A function as we go, and there will be a Q&A function at the end. So I do encourage you to pop questions in there as they come up, and we'll be able to go through them at the end. I'm now delighted to hand over to Professor Herman Tse for his presentation. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some findings, insights on the topic. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of other team members involved in this project. Professor Herman Tse, Associate Professor Jun Koo, Senior Research Associate Trishan Kasi, and two research assistants, Melody Zhang and Jack Chapman. So here is the outline. In this seminar, I will be diving into each of the topics listed here, sharing some real-life examples, current trends, insights, and it's sort of like a look ahead what is coming next. I will just give a quick summary of the project funded by WorkSafe Victoria. I'm grateful for their support in advancing this groundbreaking initiative. Their support has helped drive forward the desired implementation of a human robot collaboration in a way that is safe, reliable, responsible, and sustainable. So the purpose of this workshop is all about exploring how AI and collaborative robots are changing the landscape of workplace health and safety. We are focused on strategies in mitigating for the risk, new safety issues, frameworks, operational challenges, and the business face in this rapidly changing space. Next. Okay, so here will be the overview of the topic. Next. Okay, so probably you will get an idea about our world is changing. According to some of the statistics, that would be around like 52% of the tasks within each role, it can be done by robots or machines or automations or new technologies. And then you can see that there will be billions and new smart devices that will be connected by 2030 as well, including wearable watches, iPhone, iPads, cars, and everything will all connected, make it more accessible to the internet world. And then we also see the new generation and the new trend about the flexible work arrangements, including, remote working. That would be another 1 million of remote workers that will be working in the new environment. Now, they may be work from home, hard work practices. They would rather to do less jobs, but they would like to travel around the world. Maybe they will be doing something in Dubai or in Brisbane or Melbourne, wherever the jobs they will allow them to do it. And then that's why we'll be changing about the landscape in regards to work. And then they're also about a new, generation will comes in, which is about like a Gen Alpha or Gen Z. They are more like a new, category of the workforce, and they will become more dominated in the future workforce by 2045. They are more like technological savvy. They use their screens, connecting to the world, they're more higher risk-taking, they like all the new technologies and other things working with them. So all these will become a major things in their life. So that's why we can see that this is all the influx and change is going to happening right now and going to become more rapid in the near future. Now, in regards to that, then probably we'll talk about the ideas about robots. So where we learn about that, how robots can come into our life in regards to study, in regards to work, in regards to play. So I'm sure that probably we're going to watch about some of the Netflix or whatever. You will see there's a lot of like a sci-fi movie. In the past, we know that maybe Terminators or like a Transformers, they talk about like a machinery-based robot. But more recent one, like Team or Subservience by Megan Force, they actually talk about like an actual humanoid robot. It's kind of like an actual human living with you together in a shared environment, maybe doing all the house chores at home, helping you to pay the water bill, or maybe in the workplace, it's kind of like stand beside you. Wherever you try to ask something, the robot is going to reply to you to give you some ideas, maybe your dressing code, your color, and everything. How do you look, today? Sort of things. That is going to be changing more. And then not only about that, we can see all the different themes of the movies that will be changing right now. In the recent ones, they talk about like the team. They will more likely talk about how people work together within the workplace, or how this robot is going to intrude into our life to make something different. Next, please. So that's why when we look at the definition of robot, so we look at something, the collaborative robots or cobots are robotic systems designed to work alongside with human operators in a physical or shared workplace. So unlike the traditional industrial robots that operate in an isolated or highly controlled environments, cobots are more engineered, with all the safety features such as sensors, AI systems, force-limited drones, or the vision systems to enable safe dynamic interactions with people. So they are classified as more like by ability to perform tasks collaboratively, augmenting human capabilities rather than replacing them. So that's why this is what we call the idea will come into the era called the human-centric design, focuses on, pretty much allows, cobots to support complex, repetitive, or ergonomically challenging tasks that can reduce, all the human fatigue while enhancing productivities and quality of work. Next, please. Now, here will be a great examples to demonstrate how cobot can, perform service by assisting health professions to manage the repetitive, low-value tasks so that the professional can focus on more important and meaningful high-value tasks. Maybe we can watch the video together.
Since the start of the pandemic, but now a Delaware hospital has a small but growing army of robotic reinforcements to help.
Yeah, they give nurses the time to focus on patient care. NBC 10 Delaware reporter Tim Furlong has that story.
My name is Shirley. Please follow me.
I once did a story at a now closed Delaware restaurant that had robot hosts and food deliverers. Robots have also been used in education.
Thank you.
But now meet Moxie. Moxie is one of 2 robots now working hard at Delaware's largest hospital.
It's a little silly, but it's fun because I think it's cool. So when I see it, I'm just like, hey, Moxie. Thanks, Moxie.
This is not a gimmick. This is actually quite serious business.
Nope, not a gimmick. Christianacare Hospital in Newark now has 2 Moxie units. They use the pronoun it, and through a grant, the hospital will soon have more Moxies.
Not worried about Moxie stealing jobs at all, because that's not why Moxie's here.
Moxie was created by a Texas-based company to specifically help in the nation's hospitals.
It's a industry that's just really under a lot of stress right now. And we really just saw this huge opportunity to help hospitals with what we like to call workforce augmentations.
Basically, Moxie learns new skills every day, and it's learning to do all sorts of things nurses currently spend about 30% of their time doing, like going to get medicine at the pharmacy, dropping off samples at the lab, and gathering supplies.
Having Moxie do that 22 hours a day instead of people is going to allow those people to focus on what they need to be focusing on, which is patients.
Moxie can do its thing for about 22 hours before needing a 2-hour recharge. It has obstacle avoidance sensors all over it, and nurses book it like an Uber from a kiosk, and the right person has to swipe the right ID to access Moxie's 3 locked drawers. The more nurses use it, the more Moxie learns to do. Eventually, they think each unit will make about 200 pickups and deliveries every day.
Moxie's helped with delivering patient belongings and patient medications, which has allowed me to stay at the bedside with, spend more time at the bedside with my patients so that I'm not the one running that sort of thing.
In Newark, Tim Furlong, NBC 10 News.
Yeah, thank you. We can get the next slide. So I think pretty much about that video show a very good examples in regards to the purpose and the function of collaborative robots, how to assist the health professionals to focus on the high value, meaningful job, which is about the patient care. So probably you will see, I will ask the questions then, how the robot has been used. As you can see that pretty much about robots have gaining a momentum across various industries, especially in the automotive, production, healthcare, food processing, and where the tasks like assembling, inspection, and benefit from all the more from their precision and consistency. They are also being used in the logistics, looking for picking, sorting, maybe in healthcare for rehab, surgery, or maybe in agriculture, that would be harvesting or packing. So according to some of the statistics, the market size and growth for the cobot market is going to be projected to grow from $1.2 billion in 2020 to $7.5 billion by 2028. So with an annual growth rate was about 32%. So in regards to some of the key industry, you will see some of the statistics growth. Maybe in the food and beverage, maybe cobot can assist with the packing and quality control, with expected to about like 26% annual growth through to 2027. In the healthcare sector, increasing use of robot for precise tasks, including surgeries, patient recovery, expected to see the fast growth in the cobot adaptation with the annual growth for about like 44% from 2020 to 2027. Warehouse logistics is also another major sector as well. Maybe driven by the e-commerce, cobot are used to sorting, picking, or packing, and transporting goods with an 80% increase in the adaptation of the next 5 years. And that's why you can see that there's also major growth in the actual prediction about how cobots can help to increase the usage in most of the different sectors. Okay, next please. Okay, now probably you will ask, what would be the actual advantages or the implications of working with robots? Yeah, definitely. Cobots can offer, like many advantages or practical applications in the workplace. They will be enhancing productivities, safety, efficiency. They have a 5 significance that I will go for each of them here. The first one is about the increased productivities. So because, cobots and part of the automation, they can help to reduce some of the repetitive tasks and helping human coworkers to focus on the high value activities, boosting about the overall productivities. Something more like a meaningful intrinsic motivation and bring it up. The other way is about the enhanced safety. Decided with all the safety features, cobot can cooperate alongside with human without barriers, reducing maybe workplace injuries by handling some of the maybe dangerous or hazardous tasks. For example, maybe in the past you would send a human to clean up the window outside a high-rise building. Now you can actually use a robot to do it. So that would be, enhanced safety. The third one is about cost effectiveness. As the video mentioned, cobot can be pretty much about operate within 24 hours non-stop. So that would be something can be very valuable in regards to the actual productivities, and then be cost effective. Although the initial investment may be really expensive, high, but cobot in the long term that can be saving through the continuous operation or lower maintenance costs. The fourth one is about the flexibility and the adaptability. Cobot can use and program and learn things really fast. They will work alongside with people. They will quick adaptation to change all the production needs or making them to be more suitable for the dynamic environments. The last one would be improve or enhance the quality and consistency with a higher precision that minimize all the human errors, reducing, the better product quality, all the defects, or increase all the customer satisfaction. Here are the general, advantages of collaborating with robots. Next, please. Okay, so pretty much about we know that cobots are revolutionizing the industries by enabling close interaction between humans, machines, and also providing significant benefits. However, there will be growing concern and the presence in regards to all the new challenges in regards to work health and safety issues, well-being, mental health, physical risk, social risk, or psychological risk. Because the main reason behind is that unlike the traditional, robots, they are not operating within a confined or highly controlled environment. So that means you're expecting the cobots is going to work or alongside with the human within a single shared space. So that's what would become a major challenges or concerns to their, to the insurance companies, to employers, to employees, unions, or all the, regulatory, offices as well. So this is something that we need to look at. So here are a couple of things that will become a major challenges. Next. So sorry, here. So this with the new challenges. The first one is about the physical risk. Cobot will pretty much, although will be equipped up with the sensor, safety mechanisms, but unintended contact with humans can still occur. So especially in the very fast-paced environments, for example, maybe in the warehouses, like those using in Amazon robots, accident can still happen if a cobot may be misjudged and the workers, proximity if the sensors fail. The second one is about like the psychosocial risk. So most of the people were really concerned that cobots is going to replace the human task and can lead to about the job insecurities, causing stress, anxiety, or burnout among coworkers. So that's why employees may be in the manufacturing or logistic workers will feel more anxious about the job, stability, as a cobot will take on more roles, highlighting the needs for more reskilling programs or clear communication. And the third one is about the cybersecurity issue, about cyber attack, especially about targeting cobots. Cobots rely on all the network-based systems. It can be quite vulnerable when we're connected to all the cyber attack, leading to unsafe or erratic behaviors. Example, maybe in the food, production facility, maybe hacked by someone that will be changed how all the cobots operate, could lead to, malfunction, dysfunctional behaviors, or creating, safety hazards. And then the third one is about that would be some sort of like a regulatory gaps and the standard compliance. At the moment, for the current, regulations may not fully cover the safety risk, posted by the rapidly changing or advancing cobot technologies. Maybe sort of like a multinational companies may face the very, standard regulations across different regions. Compiling, the compliance effort would be quite difficult. The last one will be the training and skill gaps. With the cobot adaptations increasingly, there is a strong need for more training. One will be safe interaction, but many companies may lack resources to provide this kind of comprehensive training. Maybe example, maybe in logistics, workers may be misjudged about the cobot's limitation, assuming they can, avoid all the obstacles when the sensor may be, inadequate or whatever. That would be some sort of challenges that we may need to talk about when we come to the Q&A section. Next, please. So when we come to the next part, a bit more, dive deep, that would be about the regulatory compensations. There would be three major ones. The first one is about the evolving safety standards. So as I mentioned it before, cobot present a unique challenges because they work alongside with humans, unlike all the traditional industrial robots. So standard like the ISO 10218, they were mainly for the industrial robots, or the ISO or TS 15066 for cobots offer the guidelines, but that needs will evolve, will change when the AI integrations into the robotic, increasing autonomy. So that means, for example, how the cobot will make decisions, how to move and wherever, and then learning and new things and wherever, that would be like a new parameter for all these safety features have to be, updated. The second one is about the gap in the regulation for the AI-driven, cobots. The AI and the machine learning have been, advanced rapidly. So that's why we'll be creating more gaps in between whether the existing standards are able to cover all the potential risk involved. And for example, maybe the cobot giving an ability to learn how to make decisions automatically. So that's why, that will become some sorts of challenges, especially about the AI, power or driven cobots operate safety with the within the human interactions or training databases or all the things that have to be involved, maybe contingency plan or other things, maybe in Europe, in Asia, or in Australia. All these kind of safety regulations may be quite vary from different, global standards. So that's why we come in the last one would be the national or the regional variation in terms of these regulations. That would be maybe how EU to look at all the machinery, operations as compared to other regions. Then the compliance standards or regulations for all the global companies will become more challenging because they have to comply with all the regulations or subtle changes or different standards across all the regions. Next, please. The other major concern that would be some sort of ethical considerations for the use of cobot. A couple of things we have also touched on already, which is about like job displacement and all the economic inequality. As I said, that we know what will be legitimate concerns that would be cobot may replace workers in low-skill sectors, raising more concerns, in regards to job replacement. Without the adequate training, like a skill, upskilling program, like transition can deepen, more issues. That's why in the logistic, cobot, how to handle the task, maybe people should upskill, like become the career choice, not only manage all the repetitive day-to-day tasks, but they can upskill, become like a supervisor to manage, to monitor, the cobot, movement everything within the workforce. The second one is about the human autonomy oversight, which is about the cobot may become more autonomous. Ethical dilemmas arise around, maintaining humans' control over the decision making, particularly in the high, risk environment like the healthcare, maybe surgical robot like the Da Vinci assist surgeons, but remains like human must remain the responsibility for decision making to ensure safety and expertise. The third one is about the data privacy and surveillance. As you know that cobot can constantly, collect all the real-time data that may intrude into the data privacies of the human. That's why tracking all the humans' movements, optimize the workflow. So this kind of thing would be involve all the privacy issues as well. What would be the governance, safety procedures, or other thing involved that would be handle all these kind of ethical issues is also important. The last one is about the accountability and liability as well. So that would be something if the cobot become malfunction in a complex way. So who is going to be responsible? Would that be the insurance company, the company who adopted the cobot, the designer or manufacturing companies of the cobot, or the employees or wherever? That would be like a complex issues have to be unpacked. So that's why like a governance, proper procedures have to be in place in order to make sure that we are on the same page in regards to all these kind of liability or accountability issues. Next, please. Okay, now we move on to the other part, which is about some of the safety challenges in the cobot time. So we can talk about each of them really quickly about the best practices. So for this one, that would be main 5, I would say, based on the research findings. For company we try to successfully, incorporate cobots into the workplaces, that would be very important to engage the consultation, cooperation with the employees to ensure that all the processes are effective before the implementation. Our workers should be involved in all the, participation or participated change management process. Risk assessments should be conducted every single stage of the cobot cycle, from procurement all the way to decommissioning. So that's why there's a couple of quick, best practices. Consider, engage the workers, people in the change process earlier. Open and transparent communication is the key in the first place. That will help, frontline employees or workers to have a better understanding about cobots, how they're going to work with them, and then we increase actual acceptance. The second one is a comprehensive risk assessments. So pretty much about, conduct an advanced, risk assessment, all the stages: procurement, deployment, maintenance, reporting, decommissioning, to ensure that, the safety in a dynamic collaborative workplaces. The third one is about rigorous testing before implementation. Test all the cobot in the real world conditions before deployment to identify all the potential safety risks and optimize the performance. And then the fourth one is the accountability, contingency for the manufacturers. Ensure that the manufacturers provide ongoing maintenance updates, develop a contingency plans if the manufacturers become unavailable for future updates or the support. The last one is definitely about the cybersecurity measure. Implement the robust, cybersecurity issue for all the things involved. Protection, perform the things to mitigate all the potential risk that could compromise the employee safety. Okay, next please. All right, so probably you're going to ask, okay, then what would be the future look like? We know that there's a lot of benefits. On the other hand, there's a potential risk. So we're going to touch on some of the future outlook here. Based on some of the research and statistics and what we found so far, so that would be the key future trends of the cobot is going to be involved with major things about the workplace health and safety. The first one is about predictive, safety and risk mitigation. So that means AI will enable cobot to predict the safety risk by analyzing data from the past operations, shifting from the reactive to proactive risk management. So that's why, cobot in the warehouse could detect, workers fatigue and some of the hazards or adjust the behavior to prevent these kind of accidents. The second thing is going to be very important. It will be future trend with personalized safety. So cobot, we're going to adopt to individuals' workers' safety needs, adjust the speed, proximity based on each co-worker's behavior, that can be done. So that's why cobot in the manufacturing sector could modify their operation based on the worker's pace, reducing the risk of accidents. Also involved about the safety regulations. As we move along the way with the trend and all the technological advancement, all the regulations and things will fill up the gap and, to catch up in regards to all the governance or safety procedures involved. So we are able to see all the behavior and the real-time measure, so to address all these kind of regulations. And then cobot can also have the safety assistance. As I sort of mentioned, cobot will help to monitor, the workplace conditions, detecting potential hazards, gas leak, or unsafe temperature, alerting the workers to prevent accidents as well. Maybe in some of the chemical, production plants or everything, unsafe gas level and whatever, they can be used cobot or AI to detect all this. Okay. The last slide pretty much about that would be deployment or all in the hazardous environment and enhance the cybersecurity. So pretty much about the idea, cybersecurity become crucial to prevent cobot malfunction caused by the cyber attack. So maybe in the future, in regards to that, the cybersecurity things that work alongside with the companies. They may need one system only for the cobots. Whatever something is going to hack them, they only hack the cobot IT system instead of the operations. Or on the other hand, they have to be more like a security measure or contingency plan that they need to put in place. The last one would be the global, collaboration on the standards. As I mentioned it, the technological advancement is going to move rapidly. So I believe all the governance and regulations of the governments have to work together to set up like a global council and involve, all the different party stakeholders come together and try to understand that and monitor the movement and make sure that all the regulations, safety procedures, and then all the processes has been in place so that, the organizations and all the states or all the regulatory bodies, they have a clear guidance to inform all the employees and employers to create like a safe, reliable, and very sustainable environment for the use of the cobot. Okay, so pretty much I'm going to stop here, and then maybe I open up for questions or something that you would like to ask.
Thank you so much, Professor Tse. We really appreciate it. There are a few questions I've got here that have come in already. And the first one really is around what is the long-term or cumulative psychosocial risks that come with the introduction of cobots and AI systems into workplaces?
Yeah, this is very good questions. I think based on what we have found in that particular research and other information available, that will be going back to the main purpose of collaborative robots. If the collaborative robots are designed based on what I just said to work alongside with human, only helping human to manage all the repetitive, challenging physical tasks, like what you saw in that video, 30% of the time of the people can be used for more meaningful or high-value job. I think the psychological, psychosocial risk of the people can be reduced. The other part is very important, is also about whether all the companies, when they first talk about the integration or introduction of collaborative robots, inform the employees well, whether they will engage them in the open, transparent, participative process to get them informed all the way from the beginning to the actual introduction. So this kind of thing, it also help employees and all of us to reduce a great sense of fear and perceive, cobots will become like a threat to our jobs and whatever. So of course, this is something that what we discussed so far, but how this is going to change and whatever, that will be rely on the union and the government to put all this kind of regulation and policy in place to guide the process.
Thank you for that one. There's another question which is around the possibility of robots to be able to support people with disability in the workplace in terms of integration and accessibility.
Yeah, this is another very good question as well. I think based on what I found and I would say in the market, I don't think that would be too far away for us to do that, because I don't know what specific type of disability we are talking about here. But we can see that, cobot has been used in the healthcare sector, especially helping people for rehab or recovery process. So that's why I don't think it's going to be too far away for the specific cobots can be designed to help people with a specific type of disabilities that can help them to go back to work. Maybe we design the work environment, how the human move around that, the cobot can help. So I don't think I think that should be, can be done, and then it can be used in that way.
Thank you. There's another question which is around how some of the current AI innovation translate to predictive safety. So identifying risk factors that result in an investigation before a serious incident might happen.
Yeah, as I said, based on the current technologies and the future technological advancement, I believe it will be the trend. And that is already touched on it in my future outlook. AI can analyze all the past data, collect all the real-time data to analyze the actual proximity with the human, maybe gas leak or other things going on within the actual environment, and then the machine learning and everything can help the robot to learn all this. I think it can be done.
Thank you. There's another question which has just jumped on the online, which is around where does the government welfare system sit for the excessive workforce, which might be replaced by AI or robots? So what's going to happen with the workers who were doing this work, and where might that funding come from?
I don't know whether I'll be in a position to comment that. I think at the moment, I still think cobot in the way is more like augmenting the task being done. Whether there will be a massive layoff or whatever, it's going to be really hard to say at this stage. But certainly, cobots we're going to help people to do their job in a better way, enhance the well-being and employee thriving in that way. It also depends on how the government is going to put into this in regards to that. But in regards to some of the actual work, as long as we have a clear boundary in regards to what robot will perform, what human will perform within the task, maybe we can upskill all the humans to do more high value and meaningful job, and they will feel more, intrinsically satisfied and have a greater sense of fulfillment and impact, rather than just spending all the time, maybe 40%, 50% of the time, keep on doing all the repetitive tasks, running around, passing something to one person to another person. So I think this is actually a better way to look into it. It's more co-design, co-pilot, co-create the tasks that to make people and make human to become more enjoyable. I believe the government we're going to do some, introduce some sort of programs if that kind of things and more happen in regards to upskilling or training or whatever, and put human into a better position to manage cobots or AI technologies or something like that.
Great, thank you. Couple more are just coming through, which is sort of, I'm going to ask one and then I'll go to the one online, which is, there's lots of benefits to using AI in modern workforces, but they can often introduce risk with that. There's sort of two parts to this question. So I'll ask the first bit first, which is what can be done, or what there is a lot of work to be done to engage and educate workers, and some people are going to be resistant to working with AI. What can we do to overcome that issue?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. I think at the moment, I would, based on my experience working with organizations and the industry partners, I find a common norm is a lot of companies, they really scare about that. There's two views about the integration or introduction of cobots. From the employer point of views, they want to use the cobot or robot or automation system or new technologies to enhance productivity's performance or streamline some of the things. It's more like co-create, co-pilot, augmenting things. That's why they're more like optimistic. They will see there's some sort of benefits, also about the risk. From the employee's point of view, they're more concerned about their task, more concerned about their well-being and fear and perceived threat that, these new technologies is going to replace them or take over our job. Now, I think when we come to this point, we need to understand about like 10 or 20 years ago, when we first introduced like Google or iPhone or wherever, we also have that great sense of fear of, thinking about threat, whether they were going to change our life or replace us everything. We got a pretty same fear, but along the way, right now, most of the people will think that this kind of new technology, maybe like Google or whatever, iPhone, iPad or whatever, it's actually trying to enhance our life in a better way. Of course, we understand the disadvantages or like negative implications of how to use these kind of technologies, no doubt about it. But in general, the purpose or the nature of that technologies is supposed to help us rather than it's going to deter our ability to do it. So that's why my sense right now is more about we should not feel too much fear and threat about this new technology. It's more about trying to get a positive, optimistic view. how we're able to make use or learn about that technology when this comes to us. It's more important, the more we know how to manage it, use it, or leverage it, then we'll become more competitive, better in the workforce, because sooner or later we will collaborate, interact with them, and that will become part of our life. Then we should think about how we're able to use it to help our life to be better. For me, this is about this, and this is my view at this stage right now.
So with that, are there other controls that can be put in place either for both physical and mental health to prevent unintentional injuries to workers when introducing sort of AI technology in general?
Definitely. I think, as I mentioned it, the current regulations or standards for all the safety procedures needs to catch up and to be updated, because we know we are dealing with something we have never seen before. Because the AI introduced all the automation system, new technology is going to fast advance much faster. And then we will only rely on the current regulations or regulatory frameworks or whatever. That's not able to catch up. So I'm sure that, all the governments or the policymakers and wherever, based on all the evidence we presented in this workshop or everything available, they will speed up the process to set up all the consultation parties or get all the academics, more evidence-based research to be involved with the stakeholders to catch up with that. Once we're able to do that, maybe we have a regular update every year, how we're able to make sure that all the procedure safety things has been updated, keep it up to the current development of it. And this we're going to protect all the workers, and then also identify all the boundaries and clear role for the union, employers, employees, designer and the manufacturer of the cobot or the other place or insurance company involved. So wherever things happen, we got a clear procedure to guide the companies how they can operate within a safe, reliable, and sustainable environment.
Thank you. I think that this one really links in, which is it possible that the upskilling is kind of going to be endless or not possible to upskill people as we constantly try and catch up with AI and cobots and things within the workplace?
Yeah, this is another very good question as well. I think this is a very legitimate concern as well. At this stage, it's going to be really hard to answer that question. It depends on the type of the industry and the actual role. One of the jobs, or one of the projects I start working on right now is to unpack the work role and analyze at the task level. And then we look at every single task to see what are the tasks are mandated, repetitive, or physically challenging. Then we can redesign whether that part of the task can be done by technology, cobot or robot or whatever. Without understanding and doing this kind of job analysis systematically or robustly with all the evidence in place, it's going to be really hard to predict how much or to what extent the upskilling we're going to be involved. Because I can tell, because there's so many different types of industries, so many different types of tasks or some other things, but I can only tell that some of the research evidence has been reported in the academic literature saying that in terms of some of the creativities or wherever, human and cobot work together or AI is the best. So we can see that it's more like a collaboration is a good way to go. But of course, as a human, we need to learn how to work with cobot or AI. What are the main features we can leverage on? What are the things that they can't do? What are the things that we as a human we need to do? And we're more focused on problem solving, high skill, high level job, meaningful tasks, maybe all the interpersonal skills, communications, creativities, problem solving. And then in each sector, healthcare, logistic, food beverage, they will have this kind of high value job. Human can move and shift more to focus on that to create a new value for the companies.
I think we've got time for one last question, which is about the sort of the future outlook. And as the cobot technology becomes more developed and more mature and more commonly used across industry, do you think the costs associated with that will decrease? The question here sort of says that they imagine that the current cost to implement and maintain these are relatively prohibitive for smaller businesses, but will that change in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think at the moment, the investment upfront cost into a cobot automation system is very, very costly. I would say some of the small and medium enterprises may find it very difficult to adopt this new system. And of course, when the technology moves along the way, production cost or everything will become much cheaper. Maybe even the cobot, to build a cobot in a manufacturing sector. You know what I'm saying? So that means when the cobot using 24 hours to help up to build another set of cobot, then the cost definitely will going to be reduced. And then the system effort will become much cheaper. And then you know that like Tesla and all the companies, when you look at social media, wherever, they're already building up more like a humanoid type of like the cobots. And then they will definitely, we're going to drive down the cost, and it will become like a huge industry. As I talk about that, like a market trend and the growth will turn to become like more $7.5 billion in the future. So definitely that will become much cheaper, more accessible, and easier for companies to adopt a new system.
Well, at that point, I'd really like to thank you for your presentation and answering all of our questions today, Professor Tse. We really appreciate it. For everyone online, thank you for attending, or if you're watching this later, the webinar link will be made available to anyone who's registered in the coming week. In a minute, when we pop off, you'll see an evaluation box pop up. Please share your feedback, and also if you're interested in attending future sessions. We will continue to run webinars like this one on a range of different topics throughout the year. And if you had a topic of interest you'd like to see us cover, please contact us at info@iscrr.com.au. And once again, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, Professor Tse.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.